Hi, everyone.
Hi, Alan.
How you doing, Tim? Mr.
Doing
Garbanzo
okay.
Bean.
Pardon? Yeah, it's
Mr.
still
Garbanzo.
fall.
I like that you could name these anything you want, right?
Well, my wife didn't want me to use my name, so she told me to change it.
Steve, how are you?
An extender E.
Good to see you.
503, okay. Sorry, guys. I'm on call, so I'm dealing with other issues.
Okay. So I see we have 6, 7, 8 folks in here. Most of you I know. Dan, how are you? I see Paul, and is it Omkar or Omkar? Oh, Paul Keen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Omkar.
Omkar. Okay, thank you. And Paul, how do I pronounce your last name?
Keeney.
Oh, Keeney. I was close.
Yeah, I'm the other
close.
Paul Keeney.
Good to see you. Yeah. So the purpose of this session and I think all of you have judged before. Omkar, I'm not familiar. Have you have you judged before? I haven't had the.
Yeah, I have judged for last 2-3 years.
Okay, great. I thank you. I haven't, and I see there's another Paul on here.
Yep, this is Paul Gallup.
Oh, great. So I think we're all familiar with the process then. I see. Okay, Megan's joining us. Also experienced judge. So we've all been down the road before. We've all judged before, and the purpose of this session was a combination of if there were new judges coming on that haven't done this before, what questions would they have? How can we help support them in that way? And then for us as experienced judges, if there are any concerns or curiosities that we have around either the rubric or the process, to just kind of talk that through. I've had the pleasure of talking it through a little bit with some folks. So I'll make one comment and then I'll open it up. And I think it's good to kind of have this open discussion. One of the things that I am actually quite excited about is I am absolutely going to be putting together a notes page or a Word document that I can copy and paste comments from, because gosh, rewriting the same comment over and over and over for those reasons, that's going to help a lot. And so in some ways, I think that's actually a positive thing. What are other folks thinking? What are the rest of you thinking about how this might go? Any concerns or comments, curiosities?
For me, it's going to feel a little bit rushed with such a short amount of time. And I don't know, I guess we'll all work through that.
Likely, yeah. I mean, sometimes it's rushed even without this kind of scenario, right? And the fact that it's new, certainly being experienced, oftentimes we have our process down, right? So you're always feeling rushed to put comments. You're always feeling rushed to kind of get things done and get the next team in on time. And here it's going to feel very, I get no pun intended, but robotic. Yeah.
I think it was difficult when they took away the game board, and now they're taking away the ability to even like see the robot. It's just
Gonna be hard.
So Dan, we are hoping that kids will, use phones to get in there and show you things about their robots, because we still want to see the process and really see where did they start with that robot, and they can still show you the robot. But again, the judging is really focused on the process.
Yeah. So will the teams have the ability to share their screen if they have their software open for the programming judges to look at it directly?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Not that I don't know any about programming, but I think it would help.
Are we going to expect that of teams? that they be able to show us code.
It'd be hard to judge programming without it.
Right.
Well, again, the if you look at the rubrics,
Yes.
there just isn't that much about what does their code look like. It's did the kids learn something along the way? Did they iterate? Did they have a strategy to learn? We are telling them to have their software open, but as we all know, the technology, sometimes things glitch and all of a sudden things flake out and don't work. So we're wanting them to be prepared to discuss. But yeah, again, looking at the rubrics, there's nothing on there that says, did they use loops? Did they,
Right.
did they, find ways to make their code streamlined? It's really, did all kids get to participate? Did the kids learn something?
Jeannie, can you define what a work plan is to you? What it means to you? I have one definition, but I'm not sure what it means in this context.
Is this on
Yeah, it's under design, right, for
okay.
the effective work plan.
Effective work plan, yes.
Effective work plan.
You guys know I didn't write these.
I know, but I'm trying to interpret it.
We are
Well, I
too.
think my opinion, Jeannie, I think is that, and Tim, I think is that if there's a process that they can show that they went through, right, whatever that might be, a block diagram to solve a problem, right, that they thought through that some sort of a plan that they can transfer into, actionable activities, and maybe even how they broke up that effort amongst their team, right? Okay, you work on this part of it, you work on that part of it, and we'll come back together. And I think if they can communicate that they did that in some way, that to me would be a good work plan to see.
Yeah, I agree with that, Ellen. I think that's a good point. I mean, some of the words, a work plan, did they wing it completely and they just did whatever, or did they think things out a little bit, or did they have a true schedule that they followed? That's kind of the different levels I think we're going to be seeing, and especially with teams being remote, how did they figure that out? How did they share code? That may be a huge part of them just telling you how they shared code. That's a big part of the work plan, I think. So it's hard to have brand new rubrics and have the kids in this crazy world where they're not even together. So we talked about it with the refs, benefit of the doubt. I think in judging, this is going to be a huge year of benefit of the doubt. And, you may not put them under exceeds very often, but like I said, putting comments in there, making the kids feel good. If they show up with anything, I'm amazed. I coached, 7 years, 9 teams, mentored tons of teams. I don't know that I could have done it this year. So
yeah, hard year that way. And it is a good point. If they can show how they did those things and planned to do those things, and then drafted that and wrote that out, I think that would be fantastic to see. I think that's hard even amongst us as professionals these days, right?
It looks like they're going to be prepared and telling me things for the first half, and then I answer questions. I think that's correct.
Well, I think that we need to, yes, telling you things, but I think that maybe not take the entire time to have them tell you. Maybe if they go off on tangents because there's a limited time, if you find that what they're telling you is either taking too long or going off on tangents, maybe leverage your experience to ask certain questions. I have a few key interjective, comments ready to refocus them on what you're trying to get to. Is probably.
I don't know if I should be expecting every team to have some prepared statement.
Well, I think, I don't know that it's going to necessarily, I mean, let's think about when we're in person, right? Sometimes a team comes and shows up and they have absolutely nothing to say. Another time a team shows up and they have 7 oak tag boards with everything they did from the day they were born till the time they were standing in front of you, with like pictures and writing. And so we're probably going to get some combination of that. We may even get to, I think it was Tim's point, or I apologize, his point before, about teams asking us, can we share a video with you? Can we share our screen with you? Can we show you something? And maybe, Janie, this is a question for you. Even if we're not asking them or expecting them to share with us, if they ask to share with us, is that something we should discourage or something we should lean into?
I think we encourage them any way we can. We have had people ask about videos. Can
Mm.
they present a video? And we've said yes. And we have said, but most of our judges really don't want to watch another video. They want to interact with the kids directly. So we're trying to discourage that, hop on and push play for 5 minutes. But first is kind of pushing out that that's okay. And we can't go against that and say, no, absolutely, you can't do a video. But we are saying, if you want to do a video, make sure it's not more than 5 minutes, and make sure you're ready for that video to go kerplooey and be ready to present if you need to. Now, if they click play and, it's 6 minutes in, I would ask you as the judges to say, okay, I would like to talk to you and do some question and answer. We don't want them just to play a video at you for, I don't even want 5 minutes, but
Right.
first is saying that's okay. And in Minnesota, we're saying we would prefer you not do that, because you guys don't want to watch any more videos. You want to talk to those kids
Well,
and interact with those kids.
I'd like you to send me the robot performance videos ahead of time. You can do that.
You want those?
Oh, sure.
Because that was their solution for the refs. You know that.
I understand.
Ugh.
No, I'd love to see their top scoring video beforehand.
You know what? And actually, that's not a bad idea. Because that's
I mean,
only,
Not a bad idea.
And
it's-
it
it's-
solves a lot of your time constraint issue too, because you can sit down with that video beforehand and review it. So that when you get ready to sit down and talk with these kids, you've already got a clipboard of questions that you can ask them.
But again, it's not what that robot is doing at the day of the tournament. It's how did they get there? I mean, I think
Right.
that's the thing we have to keep in mind. It's not did they have an amazing robot, because we already have a way of seeing which is the best, technically the highest
But
scoring
if you
robot.
could look and study the robot, you can say, okay, this is interesting. I want to ask them how they got to that point, or this is something novel. What caused you to think that way?
And we're hoping that the kids will say to you, this is what we do that's cool. And maybe a snippet. And maybe that's something we can even share on Thursday when we do our Discord meeting with the coaches and say, we don't want to watch 2.5 minutes of your robot run, but if you've got 30 seconds of something cool, feel free to share that.
Right.
I think that might be a kind of a neat
Yeah.
compromise.
I
And then
just
you
wanna-
can say,
yeah.
how did you get there?
Yeah, I just want to avoid having, the kids come up in the, a 12-person Brady Bunch format and holding the robot up to the screen and me peering at it and trying to figure out what the heck they did. But
Yeah, I agree. This is,
yeah,
but I kind of like that idea. I don't want to watch the 2.5 minutes, but if they had a quick snippet of something that they do
sure.
especially cool or unique, or something that they can tell you how they got there,
Yeah.
that's not a bad
Or
idea.
even a picture of the robot they can share full screen would be good.
Okay.
Or if they could have a portfolio of pictures from different angles showing it configured for different missions that you can look at. So that when they're talking about the design, you have some kind of reference. Because when they do come in the judge, they do bring the robot in for you to look at.
Right.
Right. Even though we don't have the table, they do bring the
Yeah.
robot. Yeah.
And again, they should be bringing, the good, bad, and ugly. How'd you get here? What did you quit doing? How did you get started and that kind of thing. So, and the kids are, these kids are creative. I'm thinking they'll come up with
Well, I think too, the
Someone.
fact that they're going to be in the Zoom setting, I think some of these kids are going to be more open than they are when they come into the room in a live tournament and they freeze up all of a sudden when there's 25 people in the room.
Mhm.
So I think the judging might be a little more energetic
Or
because they're going to be on home turf. They're going to be in an area they're comfortable with. They're going to be an area they're familiar with, and they're going to probably have their favorite food sitting in the corner they can go back to from time to time.
And the judges,
How are we? Yeah, how are we going to deal with these inevitable tech glitches that like show up right in the middle of a judging session, and somebody we lose somebody for in the middle of the session?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think that hopefully it's not the judge that gets lost, right? Hopefully, we're solid for the day. So whatever we do, hopefully that sticks. On their side, if they're all together and freeze, I mean, hopefully that they're able to log back in, right? But we only have a brief period of time. Jeannie, is there a kind of a continuity plan around that? A time later on that they get seen? Anything we have in place for that?
We have nothing in place.
So if they freeze up and they go away and their time is up, then their time is up.
Yeah, I mean, part of that is it's like at a tournament, if they get to their judging late, we're going to do our best.
Of course.
We're going to do what we can do to get there. I know our outstate teams are especially concerned because their internet just is not, they just don't have the internet capabilities that we kind of take for granted in the cities. But hopefully they're practicing and they're finding those things. I know Jenna, who is on this call, she's in Project, I think. She's out of Duluth, and she says her team is anticipating not having good video, so they'll be taking turns, turning video on and off. So you may kind of see that coming and going. Maybe they'll do more pictures instead of trying to show a video,
Right.
or wasting video with with the kids, just the kids who aren't talking. Maybe we'll not show their video. If something goes really bad, certainly we want to know about it and see what we can do to help those kids out. We don't have a lot of time, in the day. But
Suppose it is on my end. You said we have more than one judge there at a time. So if I glitch out, can the other judge keep it moving?
If it's programming and design, I mean, like, I would think.
And then there's the core values diversion there too, right? Somebody should be able to keep asking that team questions, and I tell
Correct.
my kids to get off the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there will always be at least two judges in there, and if something were to go bad, High Tech Kids staff will be around, so we would jump into a room if necessary, if one of our coaches or one of our judges disappeared. We've got some Discord admins that we are hoping that they could pop in if need to.
Yeah, I would say that that's a key reason why we want to make sure. Yeah, that's a key reason why we want to make sure we get have our core questions ready to go sooner rather than later in case something goes wrong. But also something, and Jeannie, there may be an administrative reason or a rules-based reason or something other than time regarding having, to Tim's point, maybe seeing that 30-second clip or seeing that 2.5-minute session. But to Dan's point, should something go wrong, if we at least had that visual of the robot, we have some opportunity to maybe leverage that to make a comment if something truly went wrong. And maybe that's the case. If it truly goes wrong, maybe it's in that case that we have an opportunity to see their video, of their run.
Right. Yeah, I like I said, I think this is a season of benefit of the doubt, and we figure out how. This is not going to be a lot of fun for kids. I mean, this is not what they anticipated. So whatever we can do, High Tech Kids, our judges, we're leaning heavy on you guys to help make this fun for those kids. So If things are going bad, those kids are going to feel awful. So we just want to make sure they know, hey, I'm on this call with you guys and I've got no video because, like I said, it worked 10 minutes ago before, and you're just kind of winging it and moving along. And
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Jeannie, are the coaches going to be involved in the discard session? And I assume they will be, and no spectators. Is that right?
correct. The coaches will be the only ones in there with the kids. No parents, no grandmas. It's just too hard to make sure that we don't have a creep in there. You know, we've got to really protect these kids online, and part of that is limiting how many people can be in that judges room so that we know. Plus, we don't want them eating up, you know, any extra bandwidth on it. So the coaches will be there, and this will be one of those weird situations where if something's going wrong, we may ask the coach, okay, can you hold the robot up?
Right.
Can you get the software up so we can look at it? Normally we wouldn't ask the coach to do that, but if things are going south, you as a judge may have to say, hey, coach, can you help us out a little bit here?
Yeah.
Or,
And,
But although
Jeannie,
these kids have been on lots of Zoom calls, so they're probably pretty good at it.
yeah, they're going to help the coach.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing about, kind of quick question, one thing about the schedule that I think leaves a little bit, having that core values, expecting that the core values judge is going to have the 5 minutes in between the switchover. I think that the last judging session will get shorted at least those 5 minutes every time, because the kids will need to switch gears from a project to a technical, or technical to the project. They'll be shuffling things away, gathering up their attachments and their robots and all this kind of stuff. And if you're assuming that they're going to be flowing continuously, but the judges are just changing, I just think that's going to happen, building that in that way.
Yeah, and like we said before, we're already messing with First World on this.
Yep.
Because it was supposed to be 30 minutes total, and everyone was all in the same room, and then 5 minutes at the end where you would chit chat and say, here's my feedback to you as a team. So really the judging would be 25 minutes and then 5 minutes of the judge yakking at you saying, this is what you did well. So high-tech kids, because why would we ever follow the rules? But we felt this would be a better experience for the judges and actually get the kids technically more time. But I agree with you. And we're actually going to encourage we've said to the coaches, it's okay if the kids are in costume to stay in costume through the, robot design. Don't worry if you've got a wig on or a lab coat.
Okay.
And in truth, it'll make it a lot more fun anyway. And like you said, a big part of this is fun. I think the energy that we bring, in our dialogue, in our tone is going to make a huge difference for them. No different than when they walk into the room. As they walk into the Zoom room or we walk into the Zoom room, let's get excited about their costumes. Let's get them excited about their robots. And we have that control. I think that's a great point, Jeannie.
so in the session, are the teams going to introduce themselves twice or just once at the beginning of their session to one set of judges, and then the second set just comes in, cold essentially and starts off? That team introduction period looks like it occurs for one set of judges and not the others.
Well, I would think that when we walk in, let's say if we're first, like you're saying, but if we're switching rooms and we come in second, obviously the core values judge is there, the team is still in there, and I would think that when we come in, we just do a quick introduction to who we are, right? Hope everything went well with the last session. I'm Alan. This is Tim, blah, blah, blah. Very excited to see your robots. Who's ready to kind of share their experiences, and we kind of get right into it. So I would think, am I wrong, Jeannie? Do we not?
No, I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
I actually should be writing that down because that was because like you said, you're setting the tone and you're setting the stage. And, if you say, hey, I hope that went well. Let's talk robot now and, kind of gear them up. the thing that I think is hard is, I think everyone in here has coached teams. You know, after, you know, if project tanked, you had time in between to gather those kids back up, dry the tears, and get ready for design. They don't have that this year. They have to go from one to the other, and so you may have to step in and say, all right, let's talk robot. We're not, you know, we're kind of done with project. And maybe the core values judge will be able to send you a note that says, oh, that did not go the way they anticipated. So you may even have more of that role, because they don't get that reset point that that we in the past have had. So I think that maybe that's something judges have to be even more aware of, is how do they transition without actually getting a physical or
Yeah.
even a time transition.
And you know, something else, we could have fun with our Zoom backgrounds, right? We could certainly do something, whether it's, you know, a high-tech kids background or a robotic background, or, you know, something kind of fun or interesting associated with technology. I don't know, Jeannie, if there's something on the high-tech kids side that, you know, there's 2 or 3 backgrounds that you would want to say, hey, if you wanted to select one of these, or we could
And-
just like the derivative of the chicken and the egg. We could do
And-
something like that.
Yeah, it's actually a really good question, Alan, because we had a meeting with the FLL people in Iowa, and they were talking about, you know, I think what you have in the background is a part of your life and your world, and it may actually make someone feel uncomfortable. So, you know, if someone had a huge cross in the background, but this is a Muslim team, or a team made out of mainly Jewish, would that make the kids feel uncomfortable? Would it? So I think we're going to ask our judges to kind of peek in the background and make sure, you know, we obviously joke about any offensive stuff, but just even things there. And we also want to encourage the kids as well not to have anything identifying in their backgrounds. So it you know, it's sharing that same, because they are out on the internet. You know, we're hoping that mom or dad or a coach is right there with them.
So
But
if you have a team with an objectionable background, can you stop the judging? Or, although I think if the team has an objectionable background, I think if the only one that would object to it would be the judges.
you know, it's actually not the teams I'm concerned with. You know, you have personal stuff in your life. Like, I've got a team number, you can't see it. I've got a team number behind me. Is that making you feel like I've got a preference for that team? I don't know. So, Alan, I think it's a good point. I hate to say everyone has to use this background, but I do kind of feel like I'm looking at Alan's. He's got that robot back there, and I'm not looking to see what books are you reading, and because it can also be distracting, just what's in the background too, and especially if, you know, for the kids, they're like, well, what's in that guy's house? And you know, kids are distracted quickly anyway, as are adults. But, you know,
I mean,
is there
the
maybe
other
a standard?
situation is, you know, I don't know how many of the judges have kids, but, you know, you could have kids wandering through the room while you're judging, and that could be a distraction.
Absolutely. So, you know, and it's kind of, and we are in your homes, and we're asking a lot of your day. So it's a lot if you're in your home for me to say, no spouses or children or dogs.
So
Because,
how do you do backgrounds?
well, your wife can teach you that.
In Zoom, it's easy. It's probably different in Discord, of course. But yeah. So
Yeah. So
I don't think
Right.
Discord allows it.
Discord does not allow it.
Oh, that's right.
Not to my knowledge. I was just on Discord for the last 4 days. So
So sorry.
No, game tournament. It was awesome.
probably
That is
my kids
interesting.
out there,
So we may have. So you're saying that, at least as far as you know, Discord does not allow that to take place.
Yeah, I can open up Discord.
Okay.
And oh god.
As long as we know that going in, at least we have that opportunity, Jeannie, to your point, to
Yeah,
clean up the background we have.
I'll go to the higher powers, my kids who are in Discord all the time, and find out what they would suggest. So
I mean, I'm
that's
just in my
a good
basement.
point.
So, you know,
Yeah.
it's like,
It's fine.
You
I have
know.
a rubrics question, actually, if we want to get
Sure.
off backgrounds.
Yep.
So looking at the robot design, the last section on communicate.
Yep.
The bottom line, clear evidence, some team members involved, evidence many members, evidence all team members involved. Previously in robot design, it didn't bother me too much if it was pretty apparent, 2 or 3 kids did most of the robot work. Are we supposed to be encouraging all the team members to do robot now? Because I mean, I'd often judge a team where half the team was more project oriented and half the team was more robot oriented.
Yep. And it doesn't say all kids did everything. I don't expect all kids to be
Okay.
builders or programmers, but did all kids try something? Because
Okay.
even if a kid says to you, you know what I learned? I learned I don't like building robots. Did that kid learn something? Yeah, he did. So, for me, all kids learned something and all kids were involved. If you have that kid who says, nope, I didn't try anything, well, that's a bummer. But all kids involved does not mean all kids were amazing and high level. It
Okay.
means that they were involved. Did they communicate and say, this is what I learned, or this is what I tried, or yeah, because I agree with you. You're not going to have all high level programmers just
Sure.
because first thinks that they should.
Yep.
Because
It also kind of looks like the kids do the work section is
gone.
Yeah.
gone.
Yep, that disappeared last year.
So
Yeah,
is there, looking at the way things are worded on there and the lack of a definition under exceeds, is the expectation that scores it should be pretty rare that someone exceeds? I mean, it's pretty hard to get above the definitions that they're putting under accomplished.
Yep. Yes, I agree. They're saying that a team has to knock your socks off to exceed. Without a description of what is exceeds, I'm having a hard time figuring out what exceeds is as well. I think that the difference between fully clear mission strategy and exceeds, I'm not sure where that is. I mean, because certainly you're accomplished, but what did you do that brought you to the next level? So it's kind of that, what knocks your socks off? And again, in Minnesota, we're still saying that exceeds is 10, 11, or 12. They just barely exceeded. They were just beyond accomplished. They were in that nice strong middle ground, or wow, they really.
So might that fall under the category of so just following their engineering design scheme of judging here, right? A team that doesn't create a highly technical robot could still score extremely high on all these, but then your advanced programming or something you might say that would put them in an exceed.
That might be what is putting them in that exceeds. If they don't have an advanced fancy robot, but man, they can get a lot of missions done efficiently, that's pretty exceeds. I mean, you don't have to have a fancy, crazy robot or wild programming. But again, are they showing?
But we're not scoring them on how well they do on the missions.
Okay.
Right?
No, you're not scoring them on how well they did the missions at all. Oh, breakout rooms are going to close in 15 seconds.
Anyway,
Oh, you guys.
that's fine. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Well,
if you have more
Our rooms
questions,
are closing in 8 seconds.
back there.
All right.
certainly
we'll
if
see
you have
in the
questions or
evening.
comments, send them to us and we'll talk.
Chair.
Yeah, I suppose.
A lot less teams though, so it will be interesting to see how the robot quality is compared to the past.
Let's just say that's been our biggest hurdle with my teams. It's really challenging to try to design and build a robot when, like, we've at least been able to be together a tiny bit, but it's such short time periods that we're able to be together because we can only have a few kids.
I think I think the robot quality might surprise you because I think the kids will be performing on tables they're very comfortable with, and you won't have the issues where the coach